I'm live! Well, hello, everyone. Hey, there's actually 4 people watching this madness. That's awesome. Well, I guess 2 of us. 2 of them are us. But that means there's 2 people watching, which for the middle of Monday, I'm pretty stoked about that. Hello, dear good 2 people. I won't ask you to type hello in the comments because last week doing that scared like 4 people away. So there's that. But
what's happening? As we've seen the last few weeks, though, lots of people watching after the fact, which is
which
awesome.
we are very grateful for all the families.
Yeah, sounds good.
There we go.
All right, well, welcome to Family Ministry Live.
What up?
Just your weekly check-in to just talk about family ministry related things. Hopefully you've been enjoying our chats. We will try not to ramble, but I think that is our MO.
We do ramble sometimes.
So well, I'm Greg, and this guy is Ethan.
That's me.
He's very excited that I said his name on YouTube with now 6 people watching.
Hey,
so that's pretty sweet.
Well, technically 4, but
dude,
you know,
you're ruining it. Go ahead and drop us a comment in the comment section if you're watching. We'd love to know who's out there watching now. Like I said, though, we've had many views after the fact the last few weeks, which is kind of what we expect, doing it in the middle of the workday and school day. But we just wanted to put something out there and have some hopefully insightful conversations on the life of family ministry. So today our topic is, believe it or not, coronavirus.
Dun, dun, dun.
And not specifically the virus. We've all heard enough on the news about what's going on.
Not to mention we're not experts enough to actually talk about it.
Says you. I
mean, if there's like some MD degree you got that I didn't know about, that'd be...
I mean, if you know me at all, you would know I would never go to school that long.
I do know you, which is why I'm surprised.
But anyways, we thought that we would just share a little bit about what family ministry life looked like over the last few weeks as the news and reality of this pandemic came down, and the way that everything in a moment's notice changed,
switched up pretty
just
pretty cray.
I mean, it was the week before spring break. On Tuesday afternoon, we were at staff meeting, which we have every Tuesday afternoon. Nothing out of the normal there. And Pastor Aaron just kind of off the cuff said that he would like to look into what it would take to live stream services in case things got bad here. Things were already going crazy over in Europe and Asia at that moment. And he was just kind of looking and seeing that reality.
Watching the trajectory.
Yeah. And that was the first time it had really dawned even on me that was realistic. You know, we had heard kind of some subtle warnings, but I think we live insulated from the reality of what disease can do to a community for the most part in our culture, which I'm grateful for. And because of that, I kind of was like, okay, I mean, I've kind of wanted to live stream anyways, so I thought that'd be fun to figure out. And it was just then that Friday, 3 days later, that we canceled Super Sports, and the next day decided not to have Sunday service.
Yep.
Just that quickly. Tuesday afternoon, it was just kind of a thought.
Just boom.
And that weekend, we did not meet as a church. And so Ethan and I were left scrambling, going, what does this mean for all of these kids and students and parents that are a part of our family ministry umbrella? What was that week like for you, Ethan? I guess mentally and just
well, I mean, mentally, I think it was what it is for all of us, right? I mean, you go from life being normal to not just like something changing, but really the fundamental way that everything happened changed. Because it's not just that something at work was different. We've all experienced things at work or things at school, things in like one area of our life changing.
Right.
Change can be difficult, but it's a normal part of life. But man, like the fundamental way that we have to interact with society has changed for a bit here, with effects that will probably not really be fully known until it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And so, mentally it was just, I mean, I'm honestly, what we're on like the think we've done 3 full weeks. We're in the 4th week now of trying to stay at home and that kind of thing. And I think I'm just now to a point where my brain kind of understands what a week might look like and whatnot, what ministry has become. I'm grateful for technology allowing us to do what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And allow us to be able to talk. If anyone was a part of the Zoom prayer meeting we had last night, that was just super encouraging.
Close to 50 people joined in.
Yeah, and that was just individual accounts. So I mean, you've got
there was
families on those accounts. I mean, there's probably 100 people praying.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for what we can do, but it's definitely been a mental adjustment to figure out what
I think it continues to be a mental adjustment, right? I mean, not just for ministry, but for everyday life. I mean, I remember when Pastor Aaron decided to go ahead and cancel church that first week, and we weren't ready to go live, so I just came up here, just me and him, recorded his sermon so we could at least post that. And then in the few days after that, it was when my wife and I made a bet about how many weeks we would miss, because I think I was quickly realizing that this was going to be extremely long term, and she was just still in a mental state where she was just like, I think this, I don't know. So we were even debating after the reality had started about whether or not we would be kind of in the situation we're in now. And here a few weeks later, it's still questions of, everything in Texas has been recommended to shut down through the end of April. Schools have been asked not to meet until at least the first week of May. And we use that as a baseline, but also look and realize that's just kind of the next decision point. Yeah. Not the end of anything. And I think all of us kind of realize now that it would be naive to think that things will just end by then. And so all of that being said, you all know all of that. We just thought we'd kind of share a little bit that, working in a church doesn't guarantee us some spiritual enlightenment where we understand things better than you do. We're in it with you. Yes. And so we were left with this question we've never had to ask before in ministry. And I'm 34. I'll be 35 next week, actually. And I've been doing youth ministry since I was 17. So I guess for 17 going on 18 years, I've been involved in student ministry. Yeah. I've been involved in church life my whole life. I think you as well.
Yeah, I've been involved in church life my whole life. The Lord called me to ministry when I was 15. I'm 25 now, so we're looking at a decade since the Lord called me. While I'm only Hayes Hills is my first place where it's like, hey, you're full-time, just dedicated on it. Yeah. But ever since I was 15, I've been involved at some level in a church staff. And so it's over the last decade, for me, it's the first time that we've had to be like, hey, we're not going to be in person for like 2 months.
How do you do ministry when you can't meet with anyone?
Yeah. It's been a weird question for me, because one of the reasons that I tell people I got into ministry, there's obviously like what God has done in calling me, but like, I'm like, man, I'm a people person. It's a people thing. I love people. And now it's like, hey, don't be with people. Yeah. At least not in person. And so it's definitely been kind of system shock.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, I've been in all kinds of different ministries, both as a volunteer and as a leader, larger youth groups, smaller youth groups. I've been in youth groups where if there was a band concert at the school on a Wednesday night and 4 kids weren't showing up, you might as well not have youth group, because you only have 6 or 7 that show up on a regular basis, And even in those times where it's hard to meet because your group is small and it's hard to get momentum, you still go grab dinner with a family. You still go meet them at their house and share a bowl of ice cream. And ministry can still happen even on the smallest scale. And this is the first time where ministry was just, as we know it anyways, was just kind of wiped off of our calendar completely. And so we were just left going, okay, our job and our calling is to minister well to families, to connect with children and students and push them towards the gospel, and to help families disciple their children well. Mm-hmm. So how do we continue to do that? And the last few weeks, I feel like I've been all over the place as far as what that looks like, trying different things.
But the cool thing is that over the last few weeks, because of this like, hey, I don't know, let me try to post a video here, or let me try to have youth group live there, or let me just, do whatever. I think we have come up with a pretty good kind of flow. Now, obviously, it's going to continue to morph and change because we're always trying new things. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But, I mean, you got to keep trying new stuff. You got to keep pushing the frontier forward. But why don't we both share a little bit? You can start about what we've decided is, at least at this point, the coronavirus family ministry flow.
Yeah, I mean, really the first question that I had to ask was, well, if we can't have our regular programming, and if you missed our talk last week on programming, on why it's so important and why it's also not that important, I would recommend just going back and listening to that, just so you can kind of hear our hearts of why we program the way that we do. But once that was removed, I mean, that is really our rhythm for what we do. Everything that goes around that kind of feeds into that. If we're not meeting with a family or a church member or a child or a student, our hope is to push them further towards being a part of the regular rhythm of discipleship within the ministries of the church. And so when all of that was interrupted, the question for me was, and it continues to be, what does a new rhythm look like to help students? And I say students because I'm the student ministry guy, not excluding the rest of family ministry. But, my role is to first and foremost think about those students and their families. And so my question for myself was, how do we create a new rhythm? And that's, I that first week I didn't know, and we were trying to get live streaming up and going, and that was kind of my focus. And I feel like now that we've finally found a little bit of regularity with that.
Conquered the beast.
Well, sort of. I mean, if you watched service yesterday, that's not totally true. But just starting to realize that community can happen, thankfully, through technology. And so trying to instill regular times of meeting. So I've been working, first and foremost, just started meeting on Zoom with our youth leaders. Because just as on a weekly basis, the programs that we run, there's no meaningful rhythm without our volunteers, first and foremost. And if I'm left by myself, very little is getting done as far as discipleship goes, because I'm just one guy, in a sea of 80 to 100 students on a regular basis. And so started meeting immediately with them just to check in on them, see how they're doing, spend some time knowing how to pray for them, and then encouraging them to consider how their small groups could still get going and meeting. And so we've been working on that the last couple of weeks. I think this week we're going to see at least most of our small groups meet on Zoom, which is
awesome,
huge. And then for me, as the youth minister, just thinking of, okay, so how do I connect with students? And so I've set up regular Zoom meetings with our high school and junior high students once a week as well. And so that's just kind of the starting point. And then going live at different times, just with little games and that type of thing. I think the voice in my head has been, and I believe it's God just kind of helping me think through things as I pray through it. So voice in my head is probably not as accurate as just saying the Spirit's leading, I guess, is more of a good church term.
One sounds more like you're a pastor than the other one. But
one sounds like I have schizophrenia, and the other one sounds like I'm relying on the Holy Spirit. And what I felt like the Spirit was just saying is, as a leader, if I can be regularly seen and heard through this, people will know that we're still here and we still care and we're still praying for them. And so even jumping on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and like doing a goofy little game and offering, a roll of toilet paper because it's kind of funny.
Which I saw toilet paper at the store.
That is insane.
Like, it was literally in Walmart. Did you do the rational thing and just buy all of it immediately? Because I think that's what you're supposed to do in today's world when you see toilet paper.
Well, see,
the thing is, thankfully we're okay on toilet paper, so I passed it up. But it was literally just 2 packages. I mean, it wasn't like the whole shelves are stocked, but just the fact that the 2 packages were sitting there kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, it's the world we live in that it's weird to see toilet paper for sale.
Yeah, dude, a month ago I would not have said, you know what's really freaky? I saw toilet paper at Walmart.
That's so, and I'm just like, what? Yeah. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I blew your mind with toilet paper. That is not something I went into 2020 thinking was going to happen.
All right, I'll switch over to you. What was kind of your thought process as you started to think through children's and family ministry as all this went down?
Well, so I mean, in terms of the audience we have, I'm primarily responsible for birth through 5th grade, and so the pre-K kids, half of them can't talk, half of them can, but only the 4-year-olds have full sentences that are solid. Then elementary school kids, for the most part, 5th grader might be a different story, but for the most part, they don't have the kind of access to social media and video platforms that a middle school and a high schooler does. Some of them might have phones and stuff, but there's still lots of parental controls and restrictions that are going to most likely have eased up for a middle schooler or a high schooler. Even just to the fact that most of my kids don't have their own social media accounts. And so for me, loving on our families, letting them know that I'm still here and caring has to look different, because going live on Facebook, they're not going to see it because they don't have Facebook, period. So I've just decided pretty well every day of the week, I have some kind of content in terms of a video out there. Mondays, I focus more on just updating parents of what's going on. And right now with parents, I'm walking through some videos from the Bible Project and just talking about how we talk to our kids about the Bible. That way, when parents have more time at home with their kids, they can really be equipped to disciple their kids. It's one thing.
Great shout out there too. If you're looking for content, for discipling your kids at home, Bible Project is amazing. Yep, it's
BibleProject.com,
and it's free.
Over 100 videos. Yes, it's free. They're awesome. So I'm doing that, and then it's just different things. Tuesdays are me reading through a book. I have a story time like you would do at a library. Wednesdays are what would have been the Awana lesson. We're talking about how to study the Bible. We're looking at one story from Luke 5 where Jesus heals the guy that got lowered through the roof. Over that passage every week with a different tool from your Bible study toolbox. Thursdays are just kind of a get your energy out, goofy activity. Fridays are some kind of activity, craft activity. We made ice cream this last week.
My kids liked that, by the way.
Hey, that's sweet. I got a lot of good reviews on the ice cream.
I was preparing them for that. I thought it was not going to be good. I did not give you credit.
I mean, it's not Bluebell. I will concede that point.
They did add Sour Patch Kids,
which is a great choice. Yeah, a great choice. And then Saturdays, I'm giving everybody a break just because there's so much stuff happening. Then Sundays, we've got our lessons for the kids. So everything is pre-recorded, which is a little bit different than what you're doing, but it does allow parents to adjust for. Here's a nap time schedule. Here's school. Here's whatever. And Sandra's doing the same thing where she's got videos on Sundays and Wednesdays for the younger kids. She is just the most gifted person ever when it comes to kids, period.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to the littles. I mean, I could try my whole life to be half as awesome and I just wouldn't get there. Yeah. So I'm grateful for her. And so really, it's just this matter of hey, like you said, if people can see our faces, and I'm also trying to call people and just talk as much as I can to them. If they can see our faces, even in this, there's been anywhere from 5 to 10 people watching, but I just want y'all to know, hey, we're here. We love you. We care about you. And we're thinking through stuff too. So one thing that I know I'm doing and I know you're doing is we're also thinking through, hey, we've had to adjust ministry for the time being, and it could be a month, it could be 2 months. Honestly, we don't really know. But at some point, we are going to get back to what used to be normal in terms of being able to meet. And we are thinking about, hey, once we get back together, how can we celebrate meeting together? What are activities we can do? I hope it's over the summer, but if it's not and we have to wait till the fall, what are activities we can do in the fall?
Yeah.
How can we celebrate? And I'm excited as a little plug for the upcoming school year in the fall. It's going to be awesome. And the Lord's given us this unique opportunity where in April, we wouldn't necessarily be planning as much for the new school year because we'd be concerned about finishing the current one. And we have a little bit more time, I think, to put some extra love in. And I think the fall is going to be exceptionally awesome.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of those of you who are watching, just want to encourage you to even after we're done, grab the link and share it on your social media, or go to the family ministry page and share that like on your Facebook and that type of thing. We've had 30 to 50 views each week, which I'm encouraged by. Honestly,
I mean, that means we're hitting a large chunk of everyone from at Hayes Hills, really.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, there's a little bit of an ego thing, like you want there to be views, but all of that aside, we just really want people to know this is available, because if they know it's available, they can choose to watch it or not watch it.
Yeah.
But if for some reason we're missing people that would watch it, that would make me sad, and I want to make sure that we're getting it out there, and you can help that as well.
Yeah.
So the summer. Let's talk about the summer and just how we've thought through the summer.
For sure.
First thing is we just decided this last week. Probably the biggest event we do as a church in the summer, Heroes Camp.
Yep.
That we're just gonna not do that this year, and I know that was a hard. Even when you messaged me that you and Aaron had talked and made that decision, I was blown away. That we had already made that decision.
It's a bummer for sure.
Can you talk to that a little bit, just kind of help people understand why we as a church made that decision as early as we did?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's the heart behind it is the same reason why we've made every decision we have during this coronavirus season, this pandemic, is just really trying to think about what's the best way to love our neighbor. We love God, and how can we love our neighbor? And honestly, the biggest thing is we just don't know. Like, we're all very hopeful that this ends as quickly as possible. But there's kind of this question mark of like, when will it? And we don't know. We also don't know, just in terms of how the businesses either closing or like kind of pausing their work, like how is that going to affect the economy? And because Heroes Camp is something that people pay for, we want it to be like a good thing, and we don't want it to be an economic strain in a time when there's extra strain.
And really, in a way, just to kind of love families, we made the hard decision so you don't have to, I guess.
And that's another good point too, of like,
there's not the stress of you're letting your child down if for some reason this has left you in a spot where you can't afford it.
Or you just don't know. Because I think the other thing that's huge is we don't know when we'll be able to gather together again, but I don't know that anybody in the world, ? Someone can fact check me. But I don't know that anybody in the world really knows exactly, okay, once we come out of quarantine, what happens. And when Aaron and I were talking, one other thing is that we just want to be really careful to say, well, we don't want it to be like, hey, we came out of quarantine, we had 200 people here, and then a bunch of people in an area got sick because of it. Now, that might not happen. I'm not a medical expert. Don't, quote me or anything like that. But just trying to think through, like, how can we love our neighbor the best? It just seemed wise to do that. So on the flip side of that, for summer, we hope that we'll be able to meet with some Wednesday nights again at some point in the summer. I'm also thinking through, for specifically the families of our church, what kind of fun activities we could have. So, an idea that I've had, for instance, and I don't know the feasibility of it yet, but, something like, hey, let's come and have snow cones and a bounce house, and on like Tuesday night from 6 to 8 we just hang out and have fun. Come if you can, don't come if you can't. Come if you want to, if you're concerned, don't. But just trying to think through like fun ways to celebrate.
Once we feel confident that togetherness is an option, to make sure that we are loving everybody well in that way, to give them opportunities to do that as a church.
To be together and to recognize the way, hey, it's okay to grieve what we've lost, but let's also take advantage of some cool things that we can do to celebrate being able to, like, be 3 feet apart again.
Right. Or give each other a hug when we see each other again.
Or handshake.
So from student ministry side, the decisions that we have to make, we actually have our high school summer camp Battle Cry scheduled the week before Heroes Camp. And as of right now, we're not making any permanent decisions on that. I know that seems a little bit backwards, that's sooner than Heroes Camp, but that we're not making a decision yet. And the reason for that is that our summer camp, we're not going to a camp where like 100 other churches are coming, so it's a little bit more isolated to our community anyway. So if we are regularly meeting again and we feel like that's an option, we go to a camp in Missouri with just one other church. And so we feel like that gives us the ability to wait to make a decision on that and see if God gives us a little bit of grace and this lifts a little sooner than we're hoping, that we could possibly still do that. All that being said, I don't think we're naive about it.
Yeah,
we realize that a camp in the middle of June seems fairly unlikely at this point. And so we're working on contingency plans for that as well. Whether it's trying to do a similar camp later in the summer, if that's even a reality for the camp we're trying to go to. We have a week booked at Highland Lakes, just an hour from here, for our middle schoolers in August before school starts. Potentially running high school, middle school camp just there, if that's an option. I mean, obviously these things are, nothing's guaranteed because we don't know, but
it's all kind of up in the air.
Just so we give an understanding of why something that's sooner than Heroes Camp is not getting the axe quite yet is just because I feel like it's more isolated than Heroes Camp is. Heroes Camp's a community-wide thing. And I mean, even just with planning and the financials and all that, it's just such a beast to plan and put together that if we're confident it's not happening, it needs to be early on.
Yeah.
Where summer camp being more isolated to student ministry, we have the ability to wait and make the most educated decision we can when the time comes. And then, we had other things that we were hoping to do this summer. Like we were trying to do a VBS in the park again this summer. And before all of this hit, we sat down with Pastor Aaron and we were talking about what that was going to look like. And even in talking with him, we kind of got a different vision for that to try and maybe do something in the fall or next spring. And I think that was God already kind of just preparing our hearts for the fact that probably wasn't going to happen this summer either way.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it's easy to make a decision on that and just say, God kind of gave us a different vision anyways, so we'll add that into our next school year planning. But I'm like you. I'm very excited to think about when we're past this. Trying my best not to get sucked into a cycle of negativity, but some days I do pretty bad job at that.
I understand that.
And I think that the reality is that on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night or even yesterday, we were supposed to have our bigger or better event on April 5th for our small group competition, and just knowing yesterday evening that was supposed to be doing that and wasn't because of this, it really bums me out. And I think that myself and all of you need to know that that's okay. When we taught in Nehemiah, was it last Sunday or the Sunday before?
We're looking at 2 weeks ago
for Bible Life. It was an encouragement to me that when Nehemiah asks the state of Jerusalem and he receives terrible news that Jerusalem has basically been destroyed, that he mourns. And the Bible shows us over and over again that mourning is okay. Even Pastor Aaron's sermon yesterday talking about emotions. Emotions are a valid thing. They're a God-given thing. But then remembering that emotions aren't everything, and much more important than our emotions is our faith and trust in our God, who is fully in control
of it all
in this moment. And that's what Nehemiah does, right? He mourns Jerusalem and then he prays. And after he prays and he gets his heart tuned with God's heart, he acts. And I think that describes what church life has been like these last few weeks. A lot of mourning, a lot of praying, and now this last week and this week, I really feel like you're seeing some things start to move where we're getting on Zoom and having prayer meeting. We're getting our small groups for our students going on Zoom.
We're having church-wide prayer meetings and member meeting this Wednesday at 6 on Zoom too, just so that everybody knows.
Yes, definitely join that, and then stick around for Youth Group Live on the YouTube channel.
It'll be fun. We will both be here.
It is for students, yes, but I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good chance to laugh. I recommend not watching last week's because Ethan.
Hey, I flossed or tried to.
It was not flossing. It was something else that was entirely more inappropriate than flossing.
Wow, yeah. Yikes. You asked me to come up and have fun, Greg. You asked.
I would be honored just to have anybody who wants to tune in. Don't feel like just because you're not in student ministry, you can't tune into that. Times of worship. times of Bible teaching and just funny things. We're hoping to get people laughing and to feel connected in their homes, and so don't feel like that is isolated just to student ministry.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's been about a half hour, so
Yeah, we'll
anything
probably wrap
else you
her up,
wanna
but
throw in there, Ethan?
no, I mean, I think I'll just wrap it up with this, that, you know, every week the heart of what we're trying to do in Family Ministry Live is really just put out there conversations between the two of us that are the background, kind of behind the curtains work for what you see happening and what you experience happening if your kids are in any of the ministries we're a part of. And we just want you guys to know, family ministry is not like some secret cabal where we're like, you know, manipulating stuff. Like, it's really here. We want it to be open and visible. We want, as a church, lots of buy-in and for it to be sustainable long past our retirements.
Yeah.
And
so that being said, if you have great ideas, send them our way.
Definitely.
Can't say yes to everything, as we talked about the last few weeks as well, but
we can certainly process through and think about everything.
And in this time, you have to understand there's not books on, you know, on christianbook.com on how to navigate this.
Pastoring through a pandemic in seminary. That's not one of my classes. So
we're
learning
open
as
to
I go.
suggestions and ideas. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Love chatting with all of you every week. And like I said, if you don't mind sharing this on your social media stuff, just so people see it, we would be honored in that. But I think we are out of here. So love you guys. We'll see you.
Yep. And then he's actually going to go turn the camera off, and I'm here for like the next like 20 seconds. 10 seconds, I don't know. But anyways, y'all have a great week. All that good stuff.